Welcome to Apothecary After Dark, the official podcast of Amityville Apothecary.
This is what real witches talk about when the doors are locked, the lights are low, and the incense is still smoldering.
From spell work and shadow work to hot takes on hexes, healing, and everything in between, we're serving up magic, mystery, and a little bit of mischief.
So pour a cup of your favorite libation, light that protection candle, and settle in. It's about to get witchy. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Apothecary After Dark Season 4. What on earth? I cannot believe we're in Season 4. The official podcast of Amityville Apothecary, what real witches talk about when we kick all the customers out of the shop. I am here with my bestie friend and business partner and partner in crime, Danielle DC.
Yes, and for those of you who might not know, that's Dina Rosenberg. And
hey guys.
Often we forget to introduce ourselves.
All the time. We just assume that you know who we are.
Yeah. So hi, I can't believe it's Season 4. We have a wonderful guest today. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Kelly Ann Street. She is the author of this fabulous book right here. It is called Embrace the Dark, Heal and Find Balance in Life's Deepest Shadows. So she is a highly qualified professional and published author, and we're excited to dive into the content of her book with you today and introduce it, and you should definitely get your own copies. So welcome, Kelly.
Hello. Thank you two so much for having me. I am really excited and feeling like I'm going to be in for a really fun and big conversation, I'll say.
Absolutely. You know, working within the shadow work has become so popular and buzzworthy, especially in the witchy and the metaphysical. It is, I think, the most important work that we could do in our life. But what was the inspiration for you to tackle something that so many witches in our community are like, I want to do shadow work, and they have absolutely no idea what it is or how to approach it safely?
Yeah. So it's funny that I started off by saying I'm ready to have a fun conversation because we're talking about shadow work and It's like shadow work, not exactly the most fun thing in the world, but it is something that I love, and it's kind of my calling, I feel like, at least in this phase of my life to go into. And yeah, I think for me, the impetus to do my own shadow work and to then write this book was having a dark night of the soul, or I guess dark night of the soul after dark night, and really needing to face my own stuff and to work on things that are, could be some of the hardest things that I've ever worked on within myself. And I think one of the big things, I'll go into it, where I started was I had about a decade-long infertility journey, and I write about that a lot in the book. And that for me was one of the most painful things I think a woman or me in particular could ever go through. And that journey, going through that process and finding my own strength through the pain of all of that was really what led me to go, oh, this is shadow work. I'm going through the process of what does it mean to not maybe be a biological mother and not have children, and how do I come to terms with and accept that might not happen. And it's like, wow, that's some of the deepest shadow stuff that I think we can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who struggle with that, personal family members and dear friends, and it's excruciating even to bear witness to. So I'm sorry you went through that. But birthed out of that struggle is this wonderful book and resource and coaching that you can help people through their own periods of personal strife.
Yeah, because we all go through this, right? Whether it's everybody's dark night of the soul or reckoning looks different. The subject matter can be different, but we've all been there. Danielle and I are both divorced,
We
the
left our former careers.
left our careers, the life that you had planned for yourself doesn't come to pass. And how do you sit with that?
Yeah, exactly. And as somebody who has also been divorced, as someone who has left a career and restarted myself, I get all of that. And it's a hard thing to go through at the time when you're experiencing that loss, that grief, that who have I been and who am I going to be in the future? And then of course when you come through it, like, it's not all rainbows and magic and sunshine, but there is a reconfiguring and a reassembling of who you are that comes out on the other side that um, hopefully feels worth it in the end, to do that shadow work, to dig up that hard stuff within the depths of your soul and come to terms with it.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who we have a lot of customers and clients that come in when they find us, they're probably a lot of times in the midst of their dark nights or one of many dark nights, they're feeling like something has to change. And what I've noticed is that some people pile everything into the boat at once. So their problems become, they hate their job, they hate their family, they hate their mother, they hate the way they look, they hate what they're doing every single day. And it becomes, and when you're under so much pressure where like all the problems are in the boat with you, what would you say to somebody like that? Because there's probably people that are listening or watching that feel this way, and then like and forget about your personal problems. Then you add on all the problems that are going on in the world. You turn on the news, and then that's all getting in the boat with you. So, what would be something that you would say to somebody like that?
Yeah, I would say throw some of those problems overboard.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh, but really, we can only do so much at one time. And thinking about both the world at large and then our own stuff, it's kind of when you're in the midst of a dark night or you're going through a really difficult experience, shut the world out. It's okay. Tune out so you can tune in. And I think Ram Dass said that, and way back in the day. And it is so true, is that we do need to shut off the noise of the world outside of us. Sometimes even family and friends who are getting in your head or telling you things, close them off so that you can be with yourself and really listen and hear inside. Because I think that is one of the most difficult things, is that when you have a job you hate, a relationship that's not going well, struggling with body image, all of that stuff, our minds become so noisy and so busy, and we can only do so much. So just try to focus on one thing at a time or take really small steps. I always tell people, like, it has to begin from a place of self-compassion, or a place of finding just an ounce of compassion for where you're at and what you've been through, to then be able to move forward and start to look at those hard things that are happening.
I think it's so important that you brought that up because, leading up to this, before we started filming, I said to Dina, I said, oh God, I remember that dark night of my soul. It was very, very difficult. And it probably lasted about 6 months. And it was like suffering through a death. And there were days where I just stayed in bed and cried for a long time. And I personally didn't even understand what was going on in my own life. And it was scary. And I wasn't very good at that self-nurturance and compassion that you're talking about. But, we try to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. But like sometimes, like, you have to take care of your own self. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to just focus on what is inside your control and leave the rest. And sometimes just getting through the day is enough.
Yeah.
And it does get easier with time and you will emerge. But I was definitely, like, in hindsight, it was almost like I was in this dark cocoon before I emerged out as a new version of my own self. So, through challenge and strife and pain usually results transformation and growth.
So true. Yeah, I love to talk with my clients about just exactly what you're saying of like being in a cocoon. And I love to talk about butterflies because I don't know, some people do know this, but not everyone knows that when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, when they're in the cocoon, they are just literal goo. Like they completely lose their entire frame of what they were, become absolute goo and mush while they are building a new body for themselves. And that, I mean, it's just so incredible. And so if you are in a place where you feel like you are goo, just be goo.
Be goo.
Yeah.
I like that. Just be. Maybe we should make stickers.
Yeah.
Just
Be
goo.
go. Yeah.
I like that, Kelly.
It's hard sometimes to be go in a society that puts so much importance on your value. What are you producing? What do you bring that's of value? How much money do you make? What's your title? What's your this? What's your that? And it's interesting because I see a lot of the younger generation starting to rebel against that sort of notion of what you do in your day-to-day tied to your value. But for those of us that are a little bit older, that could be difficult to just go into the cocoon and allow ourselves to dissolve so we could build something else. When we've been told to be the dutiful daughter or the intelligent one or have all the answers or whatever it is.
Transactional.
Mhm.
Okay, great. You closed that sale. So what about today? What
Yeah.
are you closing today? Like what's next? What's
Yeah.
next? And that was very much part of my self-worth.
Yeah.
Like feeling of I don't know, am I earning my keep, if you will? It's very Gen X. I know it permeates every generation, but I know it's definitely very Gen X. But we're allowed to have work-life balance. We're allowed to have hobbies and interests outside of, producing. Where's the value in art and expression and imagination and spending time in nature and spending time with friends?
Yeah. So important.
And learning and reading. Like, I think society needs to swing back and start valuing all of those things more as part of our healing journey and not completely burning out, because I definitely suffered from adrenal fatigue, brain fog, stress that permeated my entire physiology. And people are suffering from high blood pressure, and it's very detrimental to one's overall life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I had a similar thing growing up where I worked for my parents and they had this store and my brother and I grew up working for them. And then when we were home, we had a list of chores of things that we had to do, of course, being a good member of household. But I realized later as an adult, really just in the last couple of years, that I would be sitting there watching TV like with, my husband or a family, and I would be sitting there and my body would just feel like on hyper alert. Like I have to get up, I have to do something. We can't sit here, we can't do this. And I was talking with my husband about it and he was like, "Whoa, you've got to figure out a way to just like sit and relax and not do." And so I had this practice where for a while we would be sitting there watching TV or a movie and I would feel that like that need to move in my body. And I would just go, okay, practice letting it go, practice relaxing, practice softening my body into the couch. And I would just have to do it again and again and again because all of a sudden I would get the sensation again or the thought again of like, we can't just sit here. We can't just do this all day. And so then I'd go back into the relaxation. And it was just this pattern that I had to undo to allow myself to not do, not produce, and to unwind the pattern in my mind of if I'm not doing something, I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah. I have a lot of that too. And I haven't explored exactly what the inception point of that was. A lot of it could be generational and just, what were the generational expectations of the time. But it's interesting because, you know, in you describing not being able to relax and feeling like you have to move, I'm wondering how many people don't have the awareness that that's going on, that they're sitting on the couch and they're getting cranky or, you know, just feeling like something's wrong. And then that comes out as something else, and just
Oh,
having that playful awareness is so important.
yes, absolutely. You're so right. There are so many people, we have so many inputs in our life and in our culture now that, I mean, how many people are listening to this or watching this and doing something else? How many
Mm.
people are sitting watching TV or movie and also on their phone? It's just like we're constantly kind of bombarding ourselves. So we don't really have as much of a connection to what is happening inside of us from moment to moment because there's so much other noise. So that is definitely something that I am an evangelist for going outside and being in nature. I am an evangelist for sitting in the dark and just sitting there for 5 or 10 minutes, no lights, no sound, no inputs, no nothing, and just feeling what is happening in your body, what is happening in your mind, and going, wow, it's really busy in there. Or like, ooh, my back kind of hurts. This is uncomfortable. And just taking that space to be able to hear what is happening inside.
Yeah, it starts with listening and being curious. And I think a lot of times too, maybe we have this subconscious idea that something's wrong. So we keep all the inputs coming and we keep running and we keep doing because slowing down, you can't outrun your problems. We sure as heck try though.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I think this work is so important, and a lot of people lack the tools to even do this type of introspection. So I really do appreciate your book greatly. I'm in a 12-step program, and that step work really is shadow work. It's a lot of self reflection and identifying my behaviors and patterns and looking at the root cause of like why I would do those things, because a lot of it was conditioning in the environment I was brought up in and survival tactics or just behavioral like repetition, because I lacked healthier coping skills for life. And I think that's what shadow work really is when it comes down to it. It's like, okay, let's take a deep dive into things that trigger me. Like, why am I getting angered? Why am I getting insecure and I want to run away? And if you look at it like, oh, underlying that is fear, or underlying that is I feel my feelings are hurt. And like, that's the kind of introspection and consideration that comes with shadow work. Because sometimes just the term, it's like, well, what does that even mean? But it's really just quieting all of the external stuff and looking inside to say like, oh, well, this is the healthiest way to navigate through life. Or like, can I do this differently, maybe a little softer way? Can I be a little bit more forgiving of my own self? I'm human and I'm going to make mistakes. So like, how can I not beat myself up for making those mistakes, but also how
Mm.
can I do it differently so I don't continue making those mistakes, right? So
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes to everything you said. It's like shadow work, people I think either worry about it or get afraid of it because it seems like this mysterious big thing, or they think it might be like doing something evil or dark or bad. And it really isn't either one of those things. True shadow work is about getting curious and quiet and questioning the things that you do and why you do them and where they come from. It's bringing the unknown into the known. That's all it is.
I love that. You broke it down so simple.
Yes. And for those of you who are wondering, why are we talking about this within the confines of magical practice or metaphysics or witchiness, it's because when we are working with our tools or working within spell work or trying to manifest something, our unconscious selves seem to get in the way quite often of the outcomes we think we want. So it's important to do this work so we can become more self-aware, so that we can create the life through the rituals that we create that we want to live.
Yeah, it's all about kind of clearing your vessel, right? You know, making yourself as clear and clean as you possibly can be to be able to make space for whatever it is that you're trying to call into your life.
And I truly believe that the universe wants us to live in alignment as closely as possible to our highest and greatest good. It's our North Star, right? It's our North Node of astrology. It's what's our life's purpose. And when we're in alignment with those principles or morals or with our life's path, our Dharma, it's almost like green lights all appearing in the street ahead of you. Like the universe will conspire to make things easier and flow. But we always have free will, right? We can always say, like, oh, gee, I really find that person attractive, but they're in a relationship. So I can either do the right thing, or like, I'm going to like tempt fate. And like, there, what's in alignment with your highest and greatest good. But you can always choose differently. But like, you might learn some lessons the harder way, is my point in that example. Because it's relatable to every aspect of life. You can cut corners, but to the detriment of somebody else. Is that good karma? Probably not. We learn things by doing it the easy way or the hard way. So you're going to learn something.
There's always something to learn, that's for sure.
Get there. So by like doing this kind of work, I think it brings you closer into alignment with what your truest sense of self is. And that's how you best manifest a good, healthy, happy life. However that looks for you.
Yes. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, sometimes we have to learn a lesson over and over and over and over again before we really get it. The harsh way I say it is like, sometimes you have to bash your head against the wall 17 times before you go, oh, that hurts. I should really stop doing that. And, it's just, healing is a spiral, is one of the ways that I talk about this. We come up against the same thing and we forget about it. And then we come up and we learn the lesson again. And sometimes learning the lesson again is us leveling up so that we can fully heal that kind of karmic load that we have, or whatever soul wound that we might have around something. We need to really clear it and get to the next level of our soul healing.
Yeah. If you don't course correct, you're destined to repeat it. And then you're like, oh, why does this keep happening? Well, okay, I keep doing the same thing. Maybe I should do it a little differently next time.
I take a more sort of friendly approach to it because I'm older now and I've bashed my head up against a wall quite a few times over and over again. And when I see the things coming up that I realize are patterns, I sort of like laugh with them. It doesn't seem as heavy as it once was. And I think that's a part of it too. Sometimes, I think it's important that people understand too that sometimes there's no fully quote unquote healed because we are living with other people that we cannot control. And so inevitably there will be situations where we will get triggered, just hopefully not as aggressively as we've had in the past, right? So we can come back to some sense of self or some sense of baseline or homeostasis or what have you. But I like to sort of like make a game of it and say like, oh, here I am doing this thing that I've done before and I know this person, but can I come back to myself? Can I not explode into anger or fear?
You can recognize the pattern and be like, oh, I see this.
Yeah, it's important.
Okay,
it's a fun game.
Yes, that is such an important point to make. And I so appreciate that you said that, because I think sometimes people, whether it's like coming to therapy with me or just, even talking with friends about different things that they're going through, they think, oh, if I really have learned the lesson, or like if I'm really healed, I won't feel this way. It won't be hard, or I won't be angry anymore. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That is not how it works. You will still feel the thing. You will still have a reaction to a trigger or an experience or a person. As you said, it's just about being able to come back to yourself a little bit faster. And I think one of the ways that this was interesting that came up for me is I was working with this really amazing shaman who's like, she charges a lot of money and she's like well known and people love her. And I was working with her and we were kind of getting stuck on this particular topic. And I just realized, I said, you know what? I think maybe we're kind of coming up against some of your stuff right now. Like, this actually doesn't feel like it's a me thing. And it feels like something that's maybe within you. And she was like, oh no, I am a completely clear vessel. I do not have any reactions or triggers to anything that my clients say. And I was like, cool. Okay, I think we're good. Like, I'm set here.
Right.
Because it's just this, like, if we don't have an awareness that we're still human and we still get triggered, we still get upset, like, what are you doing?
She's not an ascended master.
No.
She's a human having a human experience.
Yeah, we're all in the meat suit on the planet hurling through space together. Relax.
Yeah. So, then there's a reason for a laughing Buddha, because you got to laugh through those moments and struggles and,
Yeah, it's so funny.
This too shall pass.
I had somebody ask me like what I referred to myself as. I'm like, what is that question? I'm like, what do you like? They like, we're like, what kind of witch are you? Or what do you like? What's your title? Or what do you refer to yourself as? I'm like, a human being. I don't know. I'm just figuring it out, man. Like, I don't want to tell you.
That's weird.
It was interesting, but
that's a weird question.
We could talk all day. You have, I was looking at your
this book. This book has exercises and activities. I feel like we've had such a great like tangent conversation.
Yes.
This book is chock full of all of this type of stuff.
And Kellyanne Street that's your full government name, so people can find you on the website, has on her website like great meditations. I saw like a Meet Your Spirit guide. I saw some like great stuff going on over there. So where can people find you and what may they find?
Yes, you can find me on kellyanstreet.com, or it's also goes to the same website, Embrace the Dark and the Light. That is the name of my therapy practice and coaching practice. And you can find meditations, courses. You can find my own podcast, Embrace the Dark and the Light. And you can find me on Instagram at Embrace the Dark and the Light as well.
Awesome. Well, before we go, we love to pull a card for the collective. So let's see what messages the universe has in store for everybody. What are you pulling from, Dan?
I'm pulling from Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Terrain. I love this. It's like very, it's good for this type of soul searching work and insights.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And which one are you going to pull from, Kelly?
Yeah, I am going to pull from the Fountain Tarot. It's got really lovely imagery on the cards, less on the box.
That is a great one. I'm pulling from my own crystal keys. So let's see.
All right. So we're each going to pull a card and then we'll do a collective reading. So let's see. Ooh, I got the Magician.
Ooh.
Love it. It's perfect. Perfect alchemist. And it's actually the art is the Magician is the trunk of a tree with a beautiful spiral over his chest. His hands are like in a yin-yang position with deep roots and then branches.
I love that. I love what's happening at the heart space of this card, that beautiful swirling spiral. It almost is like reminiscent of what we were just talking about healing being a spiral and how you alchemize your shadow and your wounds into the gift, or at least into a more evolved version of yourself.
And I think when you handle it differently and better this time, you're leveling up. It's like finishing Super Mario Brothers, and you're like, and we're gonna level up.
Hit the box with the coins.
I have used that metaphor before. I love it.
That's
it's
great.
So great.
Cool.
I got the Queen of Wands, which is tied with Amandine Garnet. And it's so interesting because I was just reading a tarot book earlier today that talks about the 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 court cards, because sometimes people do have difficulty with the court cards, like what does this mean? And so their little blurb about it was having, you know, a lot of feelings, but it being more like within where you can control it, like in your home, in your immediate environment, versus the king would be more out in the world, which is really interesting because we're talking about shadow work, we're talking about healing ourselves, we're talking about what we've been through. We just talked about the magician, and now we have the Queen of Wands really sort of having this passion around creating a home environment or even a work environment, their immediate environment around themselves that feels safe and cozy and warm, and where they could feel like they could be their best selves.
And you're pairing with the almandine garnet, which is my favorite crystal. It holds space. It's one of my favorite remedies for somebody that suffers from anxiety or stress or fear or PTSD, because it's grounding with love. So it holds space for you and makes you feel like it's a warm hug. So as you're doing this kind of work, I think that's really beautiful.
What'd you get?
I pulled the 9 of Cups.
Ah.
Interesting, which my booklet for it says shared happiness. And one of the things in the meaning is the 9 of Cups means good karma, which I really honestly feel like we have created some good energy in the world by having our conversation today. And I'm hoping that somebody feels a little bit less alone and can see themselves in that they're not the only one who's experienced a hard thing and come through it.
Yeah.
Kelly, I love talking to you. You have to come and visit us anytime you want to come to New York. You have an open invitation.
Yes, come hang out. It was so great talking to you. Everybody, the name of the book is, as I'm throwing it all over the desk, Embrace the Dark, Heal and Find Balance in Life's Deepest Shadows. Available everywhere books are sold, as well as here. Kelly, we're going to send you some book plates so you could sign some, so we could have some signed copies. Yeah. So be on the lookout for an email from us. Thank you so much, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, if you have questions for us or for Kelly, if you have topics that you want to hear from, if you've been through your own dark night of the soul, we want to hear from you. You could follow us everywhere at Amityville Apothecary. Shop AmityvilleApothecary.com is the website. We are so thankful that you joined us. And don't forget to give Kelly, as well as us, a like and a follow. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for tonight, witches, but the magic doesn't stop here.
Be sure to follow Apothecary After Dark wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Leave us a comment or review. We'd love to hear what's stirring in your cauldron.
And you can always find us at shopAmityvilleApothecary.com or at Amityville Apothecary across all the socials.
Until next time, keep your wards up, your wands at the ready, and your spell work sharp.